So for those of you who don't know about the Wagon, we are a coding bootcamp. We were founded in 2014, and we've been in China since 2017. And yes, we help people learn new skills like data science, full stack web development, how to build products, but we also provide a lot more than that, especially in terms of the alumni community. And also the kind of support that you get in career services through having talks like this with experts in different areas of tech, and also just helping you out transition into your new life in tech. So we're a global network. We're not just in Shanghai, Shenzhen, Chengdu. We're in about 30 different cities around the globe. So when you do a program in one city, you're very welcome to use the resources in all the cities. And like I said, we've worked with thousands of students, and we've helped a lot of people transition from non-technical backgrounds into technical roles. And we are very product focused. So we focus on practice and really putting the skills that you have into action. Now, for Qibao, Dwight, I will let Dylan just introduce the Alumni Association and kind of what they've been doing. So,
yeah.
Dylan,
hi, everyone. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Dylan here, and let's talk about like Qibao Dwight Alumni Association. So, Qibao Dwight High School. Yeah, Qibao Dwight High School is an international school located in Shanghai, and since 2017. Would you mind to go back to the page?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So since 2017, we have Qibao Dwight Alumni Association, and which I would like to provide our alumni with career and academic assistance after graduation. Even when they get into the career, they can get support from Alumni Association, and when they applying for graduate school, maybe in so, and also I want to create a bridge between between students and the schools and with teachers. So, and we have united over 600 alumni in over 10 countries and about 150 universities across the global. So we have the power to support of our alumni with future assistance. Yeah, that's the brief about Qibao Dwight Alumni Association.
Great, thanks, and thank you so much for sharing this with your school and inviting them to come join us. So, as Dylan mentioned, Qibao is an international school here in Shanghai, and so this talk is actually going to be tailored towards people who are, looking ahead to the future in technology. Perhaps you're a student at the high school level, at the college level, or perhaps you're somebody who is from a non-technical background. Personally, I have worked with people from from age 16 up to 50, helping them transition. And tonight I'm going to be talking about how you can actually prepare for a future in tech. So this is just a quick overview of the talk. So I know we talked about in the title, it's the top tech skills you need to prepare. But actually there's a caveat tonight, because I can't just tell you the top skills and it's going to apply to everyone. Really the focus for me tonight is to let you know that it really depends on you and what skills you need and what your interests are. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why self-awareness is the key to figuring out your future in tech, the various roles that you might have in a tech company for those of you who aren't aware of all the different options that are out there. The top skills you need to prepare for your perfect role. I'm going to share a few case studies, and then I'll give you some actionable steps to actually prepare for your future. So a little bit about me. I did not come from a technology background, and actually you'll find when you get into the tech world that a lot of people did not study computer science. They didn't major in IT. they've come from a variety of different backgrounds, and that's kind of my story. I actually studied American studies and when I was in my undergraduate at Yale. And even though I went to a very, world famous school, it wasn't something that I had planned. I was actually the first person in my family to go to college. So education was really important to me, and it's something that I went on to continue working in after I graduated from university, first as a high school teacher at an international school in Seoul, South Korea. And then I went on to become an education consultant in Cheongju. Before that, and then eventually I went to work at UC-Berkeley. And what I did there was I was an admissions counselor for Berkeley's Master in Data Science. So this was back in 2015. So about 5 years ago, when data science, AI, this was this big buzzword, and I had no background in technology. And it then became my job to actually recruit people from tech backgrounds who wanted to become data scientists, AI engineers. And then after that, I eventually learned how to code by doing the Wagon program myself. And since then, I've worked on several companies and mostly spending my time as the general manager at Wagon in Cheongju. However, in the course of my career over the last 10 years, I've worked with students, like I said, of all ages, and have counseled them on not only getting into top schools like Harvard or Stanford, but also making a transition into careers in top tech companies. So I've worked with some of our students who are Wagon students now working at companies like Salesforce in technical cloud sales. 2 days ago, I just found out that one of my former students just got an internship at Amazon as a software engineer. And I've also worked with somebody who is now a chief data scientist at Grab. So I'm going to be sharing my background, my experience, and what I think you can, what you can do to start preparing. So the first thing that I want to let you all know that a lot of people, when they're outside of tech, they don't actually know is that you are welcome in tech. The picture on the right is a group of people in Cheongju at one of our demo days, and a lot of these people come from tech backgrounds, but there's also a half of them there that were just recently getting into the tech world. And I can tell you that even though tech might seem like something mysterious, you see these black screens with code, and you hear a lot of jargon and words you don't understand. I want to tell you that you are welcome in that community, and it's actually a very welcoming community and a great place to find a job and to start a career. Unlike a lot of industries that are based on personal relationships or, maybe kind of opaque ways to move ahead, I feel like tech is very egalitarian. You see, the product of your work, and your customers will, like it or they won't. You can't pull strings to get ahead, which I know is the case in a lot of different industries. And also another thing, that you don't always need a computer science degree to get into the tech world. That is something that is, it can help depending on the role you want, but it's not always required. And coding skills, again, can also definitely help, but it's not always required. So don't give up before you start. Be open. And the other thing is be patient and realistic. You can't do a Wagon boot camp or any boot camp in 2 months and expect to be an engineer at Apple. That's just not the way that it works. However, you can do a program, you can start learning skills, and in a year, get a job. In 2 years, become mid-level, and maybe 3-4 years, become a senior at one of these companies that you want. So that's the first point. The second one is self-awareness is key to your success. Before you can even think about what skills you want or what job you want, you really need to understand yourself. And so if I was working with you one-on-one, as somebody I'm counseling to get into a top university or a top job, I might start asking you about what interests you. What kind of work energizes you? Are you more analytical or more interpersonal? What past work has brought you the most satisfaction? What are some of your greatest achievements? These types of questions would help me to better understand your strengths and your weaknesses and start to think about where in the tech world would you fit? Because not everyone is supposed to be a coder. I believe everyone needs to have an understanding of how technology works, how coding works, but not everyone should be a coder or a software engineer. There's way too many other types of jobs that would probably be a better fit for most of you. So like I said, even though the title of tonight's talk was the top tech skills to get it to a career in tech, it's actually the top skills that you need depend on you and what your interests are and what your goals are. So if you aren't so self-aware, maybe you're in high school and you haven't really had the opportunity to explore a lot of different types of work, I've got a few tips for you, some actions that you can take to help better understand your interests and how to cultivate self-awareness. So there's a few different widely used personality tests that are used in companies, some of the best companies, to actually help assemble teams of workers. And I've found these very helpful personally, but also in companies that I've worked in before. And it's actually some of these tests I'll give to our students in Chengdu. We've done the 16personalities.com Myers-Briggs personality test. And you'll actually find certain trends, of people's personality types and the jobs that they are really suitable for. So the first one is Clifton Strengths, formerly known as Strengths Finder. This one is by Gallup, a big, data company, HR company, training company in the US. And this is a paid one, but it can definitely help you understand, how you would work on a team. A really good one that is free is the 16personalities.com. The images you see on the right are from there. And basically, Myers-Briggs personality test is another widely known one, which will help you to better understand, your personality type, how you collaborate with others. It might give some ideas about what jobs, types of fields might be suitable for you. And then there's also one book called Built for Growth. And if you go to their website, which I've linked here in the slides, which I'll send to you guys later, you can actually take a very short quiz. And this could be for somebody who's more entrepreneurial. They want to build something. They want to build a company. So if you're entrepreneurial and you want to understand your leadership style, this is a good way to do that. And it'll also give you tips. The results of this quiz will give you tips how to work with others. And, if you want to form a startup team or work in a company, what type of roles you might take. Now, one thing to note here is these are not career placement tests, and I don't believe them that they have to be. These are actually just really to understand yourself on a bigger level. And at the very right, you'll see I've got analytical to interpersonal written there. And this is a theme I'm going to talk about throughout my next 10 minutes or so. Are you more analytical or are you more interpersonal? And how's this going to dictate where you might fit in the technology world? The third thing that you will need to do, so after you kind of have a better understanding of yourself, the type of work that you might be interested in, the type of situations that you find fulfilling, some of your past achievements, some of your own goals, then the next thing that you need to do is actually understand the roles in the tech world. And when people enter the tech world, especially younger people, they'll talk about the companies that they're interested in. I want to work for Amazon. I want to work for Didi. I want to work for Alibaba. They don't ever really tell me the specific roles that they want to work in. I want to work in, as a UX researcher. I want to work as a voice interaction designer. This is really what you need to be leading with when you start thinking about your place in the tech world. Yes, we all, think Apple and Facebook and Baidu, these are great companies, but that's not how we're going to get a job. We really need to think about where do I fit, with my personality and with the skills that I have. And for those of you that are not familiar with the tech world, I have a very simple way to try and break down the roles that are in the tech world. And that is HHH, that's hacker, hipster, and hustler. So we actually have a quiz, a little app right now that we built, and you can actually scan it there and we can send it to the group. So if you guys want, you can actually take this test. I'll send it right now. And you guys can find out, are you a hacker, a hipster, or a hustler? And companies, especially startups, are pretty easily broken down into these 3 areas. And there you go. Some of you, you can start sharing your results there and you can see, because that might be helpful as I go over the different roles in technology. So why don't we take like 1 minute? This is a very quick quiz. It's got a few questions. So let's take 1 minute and you guys can open that up if it's possible without interrupting the Zoom call and take that quiz. It's really fun, but at the end, you'll get a little percentage about, you know, whether you're how much of a hipster, hustler, or hacker you are. But in the meantime, as you can tell by the name, hacker is more of the engineers. So within a tech company, you need these 3 types of people. You need hackers, the engineers. You need hipsters, which are more focused on product and design. And then you need hustlers, which are the business people. So in the more analytical side, the hacker side, you have roles like software architects, backend developers, DevOps, data scientists, AI engineer, network engineer, systems analyst. And there's probably, you know, a dozen other roles just in that hacker side, which would be, you know, the tech department, the IT department. Then you have the hipster. So this is things oriented around design, product. You can think of, you know, Steve Jobs style, he in Apple style, really oriented towards product and making something that is super friendly to use, super sexy and sleek. And in this area, you have designers, UX researchers, product managers, front-end developers and designers, voice interaction designers. These are people that like to bridge the gap between reality and what users are going to like and the engineering team. And you can see there, they're more in between analytical and interpersonal. And then on the hustler side, we have everything related to business, and there's a lot going on in business. Business operations, business development, sales, customer success, digital marketing, growth hacking. And these are people who enjoy working with other people. It's much more interpersonal. Now I'm generalizing pretty broadly, saying that, you know, hackers are more analytical and hustlers are more interpersonal. It doesn't always have to be true, but in general, you can see a lot of these trends. And so once you know, discover, or once you can see some of these roles in technology, you need to really start discovering them and figuring out, what does it actually mean to be a product manager? What does it mean to be a backend developer? And how are you going to do that, especially when you aren't in the tech world already? Well, you know, there are quite a few ways to do that. Number one is talking to people in these roles. This is probably the best way to get an inside view of what these roles are going to be like. Here at Wagon, we do have talks with alumni, with developers, with designers. We have one coming up on Tuesday, actually, with somebody who's a full stack engineer. And I think there was a question earlier about, how do I get into remote work? Well, the topic next week is called Mastering Remote Work. So, you know, if you're interested in being a full stack engineer, then why don't you try and attend some of the talks on that, you know, and talk to people. Our Wagon and WeChat groups are great places to meet people like that. And this is especially true to find out more about the roles from people, because job titles are more a function of industry than a good description of what you're actually doing in that role. A UX researcher, that sounds, if you don't know anything about tech, that sounds like you're researching and you're doing academic papers, which actually has very little to do with the job title. So talk to people. Another thing you can do is take online courses about these roles. Udemy is a great resource, and I know there's several resources in China where you can actually take short courses for very cheap, you know, a few RMB, maybe 50, 60 RMB, to learn about what it's like to be a product manager. And then also you can read job descriptions. So take a look at jobs and see what are those responsibilities for that job. What skills do I actually need? And then after you have, number one, figured out what your strengths are, you know, what your personality type is, you understand yourself better, what type of work you like. And then number two, after you've explored the different careers that are available in technology, the next thing is to put it together and actually to find your perfect fit. And not only find your perfect fit, and find your skills gaps. And that's what the talk tonight is about, those skills that you need to land a career in tech. So again, I have this more analytical to more interpersonal types of jobs that you may have had. On the left-hand side, maybe it's something you studied, or maybe it's a role you had. And on the right-hand side is basically a role that might be a good fit for you in the tech world. So, and again, this is generalization, but I find a lot of it to be true. And also a lot of the skills that you have for the roles on the left, you actually will use those skills in the technology roles on the right. So if you studied engineering, electrical engineering, or you were in hard sciences, a lot of you might have the logical, analytical thinking that is required of software engineers and architects. If you were in finance, accounting, you know, some type of analysis, then data analytics and data science would actually be a good fit for you, because you already understand how to work with data. You already understand how to analyze it. Now you just need to pick up some extra skills, which I'll talk about in a second. If you're in consulting or business management, then you might be a great product manager or a company founder. And I know we've had many MBA students, people from consulting, top consulting firms, go into product management. If you're in multimedia, marketing, or design, graphic design, you would probably be a good fit for a UI, UX, or digital marketing role. You do need that attention to detail. You do need to understand marketing and, you know, reaching users. And then if you were in HR, sales, or customer service, they have similar roles in technology as well: customer success, HR, and sales. So I want to share in my last few minutes here a few examples of how you could find, you know, you basically transition from one field to a similar complementary area in technology. So in the past, when I worked with UC-Berkeley, I was doing recruitment for their master in data science. And so I was actually talking to quite a number of people who were working at top banks like JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley. I was based in Hong Kong. I was doing recruitment throughout Asia, and we had a lot of people from Singapore and from Hong Kong who wanted to move from finance and you know, investment banking over to data science. And keep in mind, this was in 2015. Financial markets weren't so great, and so people were looking to switch careers. And it was actually quite a great fit. And we see this today with the people who apply for our data science program. If you were a financial analyst or you studied econ or math, you might be a good fit for being a data analyst or a junior data scientist. However, you need to understand, after you compare you inventory your skills and you look at the job description, what gaps do you have? So on the left, I have actually pieces of somebody's real resume as a financial analyst intern. And on the right, I have the job descriptions pulled from a junior data scientist job description. So let's take a look. As an intern, you know, collected and analyzed data, conducted financial modeling in Excel, created reports, communicated findings. In the new role that you want, you need to collect, clean, and extract data from a variety of systems using APIs, build and implement predictive models using Python and R, visualize data, create dashboards, and present results. So if you look, there's actually a lot of overlap. Collect data, conduct models, create reports, communicate findings. But you'll see that there's a few technical terms here: APIs, Python and R, Matplotlib, and Tableau. So these skills can actually quite easily and quickly be picked up through a data analytics bootcamp or a data science bootcamp. And then you would have all the skills to actually get the job as a junior data scientist. This is because you bring a lot of existing knowledge from your prior role that is very easily translatable to the new role that you want in tech. Now, if you're coming from something like a business consultant, or you studied economics, or you're an accountant, and you want to move into tech, you might want to consider a job as an associate product manager. And like I said, we have a lot of people that go from MBAs and consulting into product management. So again, you can see on the left, develop business, new market entry, research and analyze market and competition, created a strategic plan, built relationships, delivered market intelligence. And on the right, you see very similar skill requirements: research and understand customers, regulations, competition, translate understanding into feature specs, work with marketing to communicate features, launch products. So maybe as a business consultant, especially if you're working on developing something from scratch, maybe as an entrepreneur or working on a small team, you're going to have to do a lot of the same stuff as a product manager. You're basically could be building a product entirely from scratch. So you need to understand a lot of, or use a lot of the skills you used in as a business consultant. However, there are a few things that may look unfamiliar. Feature specs. What are features? What are specs? Working with engineers and designers. How can I actually do, I haven't done that before. And a CS degree or equivalent experience. Well, a lot of these skills can be filled by a full stack coding bootcamp or a product development bootcamp. And that's exactly what a lot of people will do in this day and age to fill those skills gaps. So after you've figured out what am I interested in, what types of roles are there, what is my perfect role, and what are my gaps, then the last thing you have to do is fill the gaps. And the easiest place to get started and the cheapest one is to do online learning for free or for cheap. And we've got a bootcamp prep there if you are interested in learning to code. But then I'd say the next best thing to do, and what a lot of our alumni have done, of course, is to do a short course or do a part-time program. And we actually have a part-time product development course coming up. If you are very certain that, yes, I want to go into data science, I've got this analytical background, I've worked with Excel spreadsheets, I love crunching numbers, then a data science bootcamp is going to be the fastest way to get you into that career. If you are somebody who is also more analytical, you're interested, or maybe you're coming from an engineering background, you want to work in tech product or as a software engineer, then a full stack bootcamp would be a good choice for you. And for those of you who are a little bit younger, or actually I worked with professionals who were, the average age of our students when I was at Berkeley was 30 years old. So whether you're 18, about to graduate from high school, or you're 30 and you're considering a career change, I've actually written a short book, a guidebook of how to prepare for a computer science degree. And in it, I share a lot more information about what types of courses you need to take, what types of skills we're actually looking for. And I know in the group chat, somebody asked about preparing for a computer science program. You can go to this link here. When you get the slides later, click on it and you can download the book that I prepared. And then once you fill the gaps, the next thing you have to do is apply for the job. And that is for another webinar because there's a lot more to do just to get that job. But hopefully tonight I've given you a good idea of how to, the steps you can take, how to assess your interests and traits, how you can research some roles in tech that may be a fit for you, how you can identify your skills gaps and begin to fill them. And then hopefully I would love to see a lot of you land your dream job. and maybe at your dream company as well. So if you are interested in learning more about remote work or what it means to be a full stack engineer, then go ahead and join our talk on Tuesday, May 12th at 7 p.m., same place on Zoom. If you are in Shanghai or Shenzhen and you want to spend one day learning how to code and learning from our lead instructors, who can also share their experience of what it means to work in tech, what it means to build apps, then join our 1 day of code on Saturday, May 16th, and we'll send out more information later. But hopefully that was helpful to you guys. Go ahead and leave any questions that you may have inside the group, and Dylan's gonna take the mic for about 20 minutes. And then at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. So thanks a lot, and take it away, Dylan.
Yeah. So can you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is it in full screen? Cause
it is.
Yeah. Okay. So just in case if someone coming late, so I'm Dylan Wang here, and I was in math and computer science major at University of Miami, and former president of Qibao Dwight Alumni Association. And you will know more about me later during the discussion here. And so in my part, I would like to answering 3 questions I may get from people's. So I'm not able to change this. Wait.
Press the right button.
So, yeah, it doesn't work. Sorry. Let me fix this. Come on, I'm a computer science major. Let me fix this. Wait.
You may have to exit the full screen from the keynote. Sometimes it might pick up a different.
Yeah. Let me stop sharing for just a moment.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're sharing it. Okay, so I'm just doing this way, just in case. So cool. The first questions will be like, why did you change your majors from econ to CS? Like first, when I come into the University of Miami, I was like econ majors, and back in the time I was like a little bit confused about my future, like about the major I should choose. So I heard that like computer science will be like a great trend. So I just wanted to have a try on computer science. And in 2018, I come to the to have attend a web development course during the summer. And I found that actually the computer science, it's not just about coding. It can be connected to different fields, like what Alan have talked about. Like it can be connected to the business. It can be connected with design, the art. So, for example, like when we building websites, like there will be a front end, like about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and about user interface and user experience. Like these are like designing. These are like how, like dealing with how people how people and computer interact. And these are like more like designing and to have a general idea about how computer science works, designing. And also there will be like backend stuff, like programming basics, in Ruby, like to show some to see how logics works in Ruby, and also like database, like to dealing with SQLs and to analyze data, to utilize this as well. And also like software architecture, that's amazing part because it has the power to let you break down a huge problems to smaller pieces you can deal with. Like by using software architecture, like for example, like MVC's model views controllers or OOPs, like object-oriented programming, you are able to break down a huge event to smaller pieces and then to compromise to finalize products that can have a great functions. So for example, like you can see from the bottom right on the slides, these are like the diagram I drew in a project. So it's like a component level diagram and the sequence level, a sequence diagram that shows how different components, what's the components in a project and how different components react with each other, interact with each other, and how users interact with the system. So it allows us to have a general idea before the codings and to break down a certain issue. And also coding have the ability, the computer science has the ability to solve real world problems. So here, like for example, like building mathematical model for infectious disease outbreaks using R language. So recently, as we all know, there is a COVID-19 right now throughout the world. So there is a personal story here. Like when I was in United States in February, like it was like just 100 cases in United States back in the time, and I was wondering how badly will this virus go in United States. So I create this project, like I want to build a models using R language to somehow predict the future about this disease outbreak in United States. So actually, in fact, these kind of disease outbreaks have certain pattern and shapes. You can see like this will be like reflecting the number of infected, the confirmed cases over here, and it has a certain shape that allows us to create a model to describe it. So the red line will be the predictions, and the black points will be the real results. So we can see that it actually fits a lot, and it has the ability with high accuracy to predict the infections. And so I use these models to somehow to show the number of cases in the futures, and also these kind of predictions helps me to make further decision about like maybe coming back or getting more stuff and to prepare for this outbreak. So this is also the charm of computer science, like when you combine this with statistics or combine this with mathematical models, and it is powerful in this way. And also it will be another questions about what have you learned from CS major. So previously from Alan, we have like knows about how we transit from one job to another job in tech. So here I want to like show you more about CS majors in like in a campus if you are students and want to have more like want to learn computer science want to have a computer science degrees at campus. So academically, when you in campus, they will like there will several things in computer science major you can learn about. First, it will be like mathematical foundation. If you are a computer science major students, you have to learn that like about, for example, like discrete mathematics and linear algebra, or some you need to learn about graph in mathematics to help you like further knows about algorithm and data structure. And also there will be like a hot topic right now, AIs, artificial intelligence. So it includes maybe like machine learnings, deep learnings, and computer vision. Like these are super hot topic in the past few 5 years. And these are like on the bottom right, these are the project I did before. So in the middle of it, it's a electrocardiogram interpretation tools. So it allows you to detect the heartbeats and to find the peak of the electrocardiogram, and to realize which part of it is it's a peak by using the method of deep learning. And also for computer vision, you can see from the right, it's a artifacts detection for CT scans of brains. So you are able to detect whether there is artifacts on the CT scans of brains by using a deep learning method. And also in computer science, there will be like communication and security. I think that's like stereotype of computer science major students, like hacking stuff, like dealing with security, dealing with network security, and breaking into something. But it's just a little part in computer science. And also there will be like computer architecture, as mentioned before, and computer graphics, which talking about how you creating image through some abstract concepts. And also you can deal with database, and they will include like data science, data analysis as well. And also scientific computing. It's like what we did before over here, like to combine with science, to combine with maybe like biomedical, to combine with physics, and using computer science method to further to facilitate modeling and to help the development of the science. And also software engineering, there's I think that's a large topic right now. Like for example, what we talked about before, like the it's a part of like software engineering. And also what I did this semester is like I learned the how to build a game. Like game production is also a part of software engineering. So this part may include like UI UX and some design and some business part. And also another important things you can learn from the computer science major is about computational thinking. It's like what we did here, like the software architect, like how you break down a huge event, like a huge project, to smaller pieces, and that thinking process will be repeated over and over again and in your computer science journey. And the last questions will be like, okay, so I know it's great to have a computer science major, and I would like to know more about computer science. So how did you learn to code? So I have 3 tips to prepare for that. So first will be like knows how to learn, because there won't be like a teacher around you every minute. So you have to know how to learn, so how to utilize the results behind, besides you on YouTube or Udemy or Google it. So there will be like a lot of results outside. You have to know how to utilize these and how to learn code, because there are many programming language out there, but no, you don't have to go to a camp or taking class for every programming language, but you can use your result beside you to know more about a language or a tools. And also keep learning. When you doing projects, you will find many questions. You will have to experience a lot of bugs, and you have to keep learning to how to fix these and how to knows more about the computer science and the coding part. And also start coding. Don't be afraid. It's as mentioned before, you are welcome to the tech world, and also you can just start it. Although it might be hard when you go deeper, but it's never too early or too late to start coding, and keep coding as well. Keep coding, then you can keep learning. So here's the Q&A. If you have any questions, you're welcome.
Yeah, so we'll,
Yes.
Dylan, you can go ahead and leave your screen up.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's fine. Oh, I was gonna say you could leave it on, but let me put mine back up. So yeah, if there are any questions from the audience, let's go ahead and take those now. There were a few earlier. We can maybe get started with those. So tips for finding location-independent remote work. Obviously now, because of the virus, a lot of work is going online. And a lot of people now see that work can be done remotely. I would say that, again, going back to what I mentioned, is really because so many jobs now are going remote and able to be remote, and it's going to accelerate even more after, because we're still stuck in this virus period. I would go back to what I mentioned first, is really what do you want? What kind of job do you want? What skills do you have? And where's your skills gap? And how do you basically think like a recruiter and think, what do I have? What does the company need? And how do I match up there? And then in your job searches, just only look for jobs that allow remote work, which is going to be a lot more in this day and age. Let's see, I think we have some questions. Which coding language would you recommend to those who are beginners? Dylan, what would you say to that one?
I believe it depends on what direction you are going to, right? If you want to learn about data science, it's different from if you want to learn about web development, right? But if you want to have a general idea about the logic for coding, maybe Python. Python is easier than Java and C++. But it depends on which direction you want to go to. But if you want to learn more about logic behind the computer science or coding, I suggest maybe Java or C++. And if you want to be more efficient and you want to build something quick, you can learn Python, because it's a trend right now to learn about Python, I believe. Right, Alan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. No, I think you said it well. Python is a very good beginner language, but really, as you mentioned, all all programming languages that you just mentioned share all the same fundamentals. So whether you learn Python or Ruby or Java, like they're all object oriented. They all have a lot of the same fundamentals.
Yeah, for data science, yeah, Python for sure. You have to learn about Python for sure if you want to learn something about data science, and maybe SQL as well to deal with something with data. Okay, there is another question here.
And I can mention that for data science as well. And this is kind of another question from the group earlier. The tips I would share for being admitted to a top CS master's degree in computer science, for example, at Berkeley. So when I was at Berkeley with data science, we did have a few hardcore requirements. One of them was not actually having a computer science undergraduate degree. We admitted people from all different degrees, but we did require that people had an understanding of object-oriented programming. Didn't matter which language, but Python, of course, was the preferred one for data science. We also, you know, for people who didn't have a computer science background, we wanted to see evidence that they were analytical thinkers, which I mentioned earlier. So if you studied humanities or political science, you probably weren't going to get into a top computer science degree, although we did admit people from that background. However, if you studied econ, financial engineering, electrical engineering, but you didn't have a computer science background, and maybe you picked up coding yourself or you learned it on the job, then you still had a really good shot of getting into Berkeley. So, and then of course, another few, your accomplishments in your academic, your GPA, any prior work experience, these were things that we looked for. But you can actually download the PDF, and I listed out very clearly what it would take to get into a top computer science degree.
Yeah, there is another question for me from E. So what tips would you share to students or professionals looking to land their first job, landing their first web development job or internship? So from my perspective, I believe like before you landing your jobs, you have to know like whether you like web development or not, and also you can build your own website and some projects to practice more and to see whether you like it and whether you have the ability to do that. And there is a lot of there is a lot of subfield in the web development as well, like the front end, the back end, like maybe like just dealing with the database. So maybe you can try them and to see whether you want to go the subfield like specifically. And yeah, that's what I will say. And also there is a questions about like too scared to apply for a tech job for a year after Wagon, and how did you build the courage, and how much personal projects should you do to show, etc. So I believe like just what we said before, like just start it and don't be afraid. And I believe like how to build a courage, I believe just don't too much worrying about others' opinions, because you have a lot of tools and results to build up your skills, and the main point here is who you are and who you want to be. And so I think that answers the questions like how much personal projects should you do, because project is something that it's I believe like it's more like practicing and to build up your own skills, like to it's a reflection of your abilities. So the main point is the main points here is to learn more and to be interested in like coding and the computer science. So you don't need to worry about like the quantity of your projects. You just need to worry about like what you want and what you want to be and what kind of ability you want. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
I think
question
that
from me. Mhm.
yeah, kind of like you said, you know, think about what you want and try not to worry too much about you know what other people think, but also at the same time, and I don't know if you would agree with this, Dylan, like you're never really going to feel fully confident with everything that you do, especially in this field. There's always stuff you don't know.
Actually, like the knowledge in computer science is almost like so like your ability divides the knowledge in computer science will be like 0. So you might be like, right? So you might be, there will always something out there you should learn or you can learn out there. So just practice and keep learning. So like, like learning from others, learning from all the results out there. So don't be afraid.
Yeah, one of my my instructors, he to me he seemed like a god of computer science. He like did stuff in the dark web. He had like 10 years of as being a senior developer, but he would be the first one to admit that like the more that you learn in the field, the less you realize you know. And it's just that, and I think that's a really good way to put it, is like the more you know, the less you realize you actually know. And so don't be afraid. For sure. I have a few more questions. So is 40 too old for changing careers into tech? What's it take to get into AI, big data? So I think I can answer this one. No, it's not too old to change into the tech world. Now, I'm saying that because, I mean, with the caveat that if you expect to be an AI engineer, yes, it might be too old. However, if you perhaps had a prior background in sales and marketing, would you be able to sell AI products? You know, B2B sales, 100%. Could you work for a technology company in their sales department? For sure. So 40 years old is definitely not too old. It's just, I assume you had a prior career and you have a lot of transferable skills. And like I said, it's really going back thinking which area in tech would you be a fit based on your prior skills, and then identifying, do I need to learn more about AI? Do I actually have to learn to code? Probably not. Do I need to understand APIs? Probably. So within 6 months to a year, I can see somebody with that prior career, you know, transitioning into the tech world.
Like from my side, like for this questions, I would like to say, so most of the time I was learning when I doing a project, right? Like I can learn more from doing a project and just like instead of like learning the knowledge from college. That's my perspective. But sure, you will learn more, like you will learn about series and knowledge in computer science in universities. But when you work on the projects, you will have more like impressions on what you learn. And when you're fixing a bug, you will know like how to deal with problem and how to learn stuff. So I think it's you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and you for me, for example, I didn't switch into technology until I was 27. I'm 31 now, and I had only tried online courses before. I never, I was a teacher and I worked as an education consultant, and it was only when I actually started doing recruitment for UC-Berkeley that I started talking to developers. on a daily basis, aspiring data scientists, people who are working at Google, Microsoft, R&D, you know, MDs at banks, managing directors. So I had no clue about data science when I started working. And Berkeley, I think, took me on because they knew I could learn. And every day when I was talking to people, I would just ask them questions. Hey, what does that mean? What is object-oriented programming? Can you tell me about what you're working on? And just by asking them the questions, they would share a lot more. And then I'd go home and I'd Google it. Or if I was on the phone with them, I'd be Googling the whole time. Like, what does this mean? You know, machine learning, NLP, I have no clue. And then after learning that, that's what really got me interested in, oh, this is interesting. I want to learn to code. So yeah, you're never too old to learn this. And another question, hacker, we'll take these last two questions. So hacker, hipster, hustler, which one has the best job perspectives, in my opinion? I think that really depends on what you want to do. I think there are jobs within each of these areas where you can get paid more than $1 million a year. Some of them you have to learn and know how to code. Some of them you don't. Some of them you have to be good at managing people more than you have to be good at technology. So it really depends on whether you want to be a hacker, hipster, or hustler. And then for this one, maybe you can take this last one, Dylan. Can I be a software engineer with more focus on AI without having to major in web development?
With small focus on AI without having to make web development.
Basically, can you do AI without web development?
Yeah, like it's there. AI and web development, I think these are like different fields, different subfields in computer science. But yeah, the connection between them, and I think web development is kind of like I haven't met any cases like combining AIs with web development. Can you think? Oh yeah, maybe analyzing.
I mean, you do have to know how to work with APIs.
Yeah, but yeah,
you know, you do have to understand where data is coming from. You have to decipher whether or not that data is clean. And so if you are working in AI, having an understanding of web development can be important depending on your role. Again, it comes back to your role in a company and how you're working with AI, I would say.
Yeah, I believe if you can do well in AIs, you will have no problem in web development, because the main idea is like how, like if you knows how to code, like that techniques, that ability can help you in everywhere, like every fields in computer science, I believe. Like that's the main ability you have to have. And do I have to be good at math to learn computer science? That's a quick because to be honest, there are some connection between math and computer science. Like maybe like when we're dealing with algorithm and the logic stuff in computer science, yeah, there is sometime you will need mathematics in computer science, but also what, like as we said before, like computer science have a lot of subfields. So so sometimes you don't need a math, like when you doing computer science, like when you're doing front end designs, you will probably need like art and designing stuff instead of math. And yeah, like yeah, there are different subfields. So math can help, but it's not a it's not required. I can say,
Mm-hmm.
but it will help you a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Well, we'll stop there for now. We're a few minutes over time, but yeah, thanks a lot, Dylan, for sharing your perspective and
Thank you, Alan.
answering some of those questions. So for those of you that want to get started now in learning about careers in tech, next Tuesday at 7 o'clock, we've got another talk here on Zoom. And the following Saturday on May 16th, 1 day of code. So you'll learn what it's like to do web development. You'll learn about APIs, and you'll get to meet some teachers and people who have transitioned into tech. And if you would like a copy of the slides, we'll go ahead and send those to you. Please just fill out this questionnaire. It'll take a few minutes. We'll go ahead and drop it in the group as well. And our next programs start in Shanghai, Chengdu, and Shenzhen. We have programs in full stack web development, part-time product development, and data science as well. So if you between now and June 22nd, feel like you want to transition into tech, you find that job that might be a fit and realize you have some gaps, then join one of our programs to fill those gaps and pursue your future in tech. So thanks a lot, everyone. And you can ask any additional questions in the group, and have a good night. See you, Dylan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.